For the sake of her dream guy, Chloe, my fiancée of many years, abandoned me in the countryside to fend for myself. 3 years later, she came back with that dream guy to pick me up. She said, "It's been 3 years. Even a dog should have learned its lesson by now. I'm doing this for your own good. If you don't change your temper, don't even dream of becoming my husband." Everyone thought I would cry about the pain and longing of the past 3 years, clinging to her desperately, but I simply smiled calmly. "Sorry, miss," I said, "I'm already married." Chapter 1. I had just finished shooting some footage and was on my way back when I saw a dozen luxury cars parked outside the old MO family estate cars I hadn't seen in years. As I approached the house, I could hear the noisy chatter inside. It's been 3 years. I wonder what that young master Leo has turned into. Probably just some countryside pumpkin by now, right? Yeah, young master, my ass. He was just an orphan crashing at the MO family's house, acting like he's some kind of heir. Exactly. He doesn't share a drop of blood with the MO family. If it weren't for their kindness, he'd be worse off than a beggar. Leo always had a bad temper. I bet after these 3 years, he's finally realized he was wrong. A deep male voice suddenly interrupted all the mockery, bringing a brief silence to the yard. That voice, it sounded familiar. It was Marcus, her precious golden boy. 3 years ago, after his father died in a car accident, Chloe MO brought him into the MO household, and I was sent away to the countryside. When she sent me off, she said, "Marcus just lost his family, and you're still speaking so viciously? He's always been kind to you. Don't you have a heart? When you learn to behave, when you grow up a bit, then I'll let you come back. Otherwise, stay there forever. I'm doing this for your own good. If you don't change that attitude, don't ever hope to become my husband. For my own good." What a noble excuse. Doing it for my own good meant siding with Marcus, no matter what. Doing it for my own good meant dumping me in the middle of nowhere and forgetting I even existed. She knew perfectly well I was on the edge, barely holding on at the time. Now hearing her say that again, I can't help but find it laughable. Good thing Marcus was generous enough not to press charges. If it were me, I would have locked him up for a few years at least, Marcus said softly. Leo is still technically part of the MO family. As he spoke, his voice grew even quieter. "Marcus, don't be sad. That idiot's already been punished. What do you guys think he'll do when he sees us? That's obvious. He'll break down crying, beg to go back with Chloe, groveling on his knees." Chloe snorted coldly. "It's been 3 years. Even a dog should have learned its place by now. If not, he can keep rotting out here." The group laughed and voiced their agreement. "In that case, I kind of hope he hasn't learned that way. I never have to see him again. Yeah, just looking at his pitiful, boot-licking face disgusts me. But I remember you two still have an engagement, right?" A voice rang out, tinged with a hint of doubt. Marcus turned his head toward Chloe upon hearing that, his eyes full of hope. "Engagement depends on how he performs." Hearing Chloe's words, Marcus looked away, somewhat disappointed. At that point, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Chapter 2. I didn't try to hide my laughter. The sound, carried by the gentle wind, drifted into the courtyard and startled a group of tiny turtles basking there. The person nearest to the door turned and looked at me, calling out in surprise and confusion, "Leo." Her shout drew everyone's attention toward me. "That's really Leo? No way. Wasn't he supposed to be some hillbilly by now?" I heard all their comments clearly and understood their shock. In their minds, 3 years banished to the countryside should have turned me into a dust-covered, weary-faced farmer. But I wasn't that. I wore a dark-colored tech jacket, matching sneakers fresh off the season's trend list, and a pair of brand-new casual shoes. Around my neck hung a high-end camera that clearly wasn't cheap. In one hand, I held a coffee cup. There wasn't a trace of a pumpkin about me. Chloe's gaze slowly settled on me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes as well. "Leo," she called my name, her tone distant, nothing like the warm way she spoke to Marcus. I remembered I used to be upset by that. I even argued with her about it, but not anymore. "Miss Mo," I greeted politely, taking a sip of my coffee. Chloe frowned slightly at how I addressed her. "Only 3 years, and you're acting like a stranger? I'm your fiancé. That's how you talk to me? Looks like 3 years wasn't long enough. You still haven't learned your lesson. If you keep this up, I'll really call off the engagement." I glanced at her indifferently. What made her think I'd still have feelings for her after 3 years? I became an orphan at the age of 10. It was Grandpa Mo who brought me into the Mo household and right then and there announced my engagement to Chloe. From that moment on, I knew Chloe would be my future wife, so I allowed myself to fall for her little by little, under the warmth of her kindness. And when love was at its deepest, she said she loved me, too. She said she wanted to be my wife. Until Marcus arrived at the Mo house, everything changed. I watched as the care that once belonged to me was taken away piece by piece. I saw how unconditionally she favored him. I argued, gave her the cold shoulder, even picked fights with Marcus on purpose. Every time, without exception, it ended in scolding and rage directed at me. Then one day, Marcus's watch went missing. Chloe came straight to me demanding an explanation. Sure, I didn't like Marcus, but I wasn't shameless enough to steal. Especially not then. My cat, whom I had raised for 8 years, was hospitalized and dying. That cat was Chloe's birthday gift to me. She said it was a symbol of our love to care for it. I had rented a place near the pet hospital and hadn't been back to the Mo house in a while. I stood tall and confronted her, but somehow, the missing watch turned up in an old jacket of mine I hadn't worn in ages. Chloe slapped me across the face. Then she shattered a bracelet one my parents had picked out long ago as a future wedding gift for their daughter-in-law. I stared at the bracelet, broken into pieces on the floor, and something inside me snapped. I charged at Marcus like a madman. In the chaos, he fell down the stairs. After that, Chloe sent me away to the countryside, and my cat didn't survive. That summer, I stayed silent, and Chloe's face grew increasingly impatient. Just as she was about to lash out, I raised my left hand slightly and showed her the ring on my finger. Sorry, Miss Mo, I said. I'm already married. Chapter 3. Chloe's frown deepened the moment she heard my words. Marcus stepped forward, draping an arm around her shoulders, looking at me like I was some mischievous little brother. Leo, you shouldn't lie, he said, chuckling. I heard from Chloe that she cut off your credit cards. So how have you been living all these years? You're still young. Don't let some sleazy woman take advantage of you. As he said that, Chloe's gaze finally dropped to my clothes, and her expression gradually turned cold. She was clearly reminded that she had completely cut off all my financial support. To them, someone without Mo family money had no right to be dressed this well. Their little entourage all looked at me with sneering eyes. One of them piped up, Leo, don't tell me you've got yourself a sugar mommy out here in the sticks. What? Did some lonely old widow from the village take you in? Chloe's face darkened instantly, her eyes full of rage as she glared at me. Leo, are you even a man? You want to throw away your dignity? Fine, but don't drag the Mo family name down with you. Judging by her tone, she clearly believed I had become some rich woman's side piece. But after all the years we've known each other, even if you don't like me anymore, don't you at least know what kind of person I am? In your eyes, do I really look like someone who'd sell myself for money? I swept my gaze around the group, my voice cold and sharp. I should be the one asking if any of you have any dignity left. You came all this way just to act crazy in my front yard? I'm not like you losers. Even without anyone's help, even without the Mo family, I, Leo, can still live just fine. Chloe clearly hadn't expected me to talk back. She was momentarily stunned. Then she gave a mocking laugh. Oh, really? You without the Mo family? Leo, don't be ridiculous. I know exactly what you're trying to do. This is all just to get my attention. I couldn't help but laugh out of disbelief. Does this woman even understand human language? Trying to get your attention? You think you're worth it? I flung the coffee in my hand at her. Chloe wasn't expecting it and ended up getting a full splash right in her flawless face. Ah, Chloe. Marcus rushed forward and pulled her into his arms, but Chloe shoved him away hard, wiped the coffee off her face, and raised her hand to slap me. I took a quick step back and sneered. What? The Mo princess wants to start slapping people again. Chloe's hand froze midair. She took a deep breath. Leo, you're doing great, aren't you? Fine, then stay out here for the rest of your life. With that, she stormed off. And just like that, the main character left the stage, and all the little side characters who had come for the drama filed out right behind her. Marcus was the last to leave. As he walked past me, he whispered, Leo, thank you. If it weren't for you, Chloe would never have seen how good I am. I didn't reply. The things you're so proud of are just the trash I threw away. You like picking up trash? Be my guest. After they left, I grabbed the groceries and headed to the house across from the Missouri estate. Inside, a woman was on a video call. When she saw me come in, she hit mute, then ran into my arms with a bright smile. Took you long enough? I'm starving. Chapter 4. I smiled and pulled her into my arms. I've been out working all day, and you didn't even think to cook me a nice meal to reward me? The woman scrunched her little nose and replied innocently, but I don't know how to cook. How about some instant noodles instead? I turned around, bent down and pinched her nose. You little rascal. When have you ever cooked in this house? I heard some noise outside just now. What happened? Thinking of what had just happened, my eyes dimmed slightly. Chloe showed up, said she came to take me back. I gave her a lesson. Hearing that, her brows furrowed. That girl, Chloe. Good that you gave her a piece of your mind. Someone needs to teach her manners. I raised an eyebrow, studying her. That's it. She just smiled, her fingers starting to trace lazy circles on my chest. I know all about your past with her. Sure, I get a little jealous sometimes, but you're here with me now, and that's all that matters. As she spoke, her lips were already brushing against mine. Her kiss was gentle, like water, slowly melting me, pulling me deeper into her warmth. The next time I saw Chloe was a month later, at Daniel's engagement party. He's my best friend, and he made a special trip to the countryside just to invite me. I couldn't say no, so I finally agreed. Seeing Chloe and Marcus again didn't surprise me. The moment Daniel saw them, he pulled me behind him like a mother hen shielding her chick and had Olivia go deal with them. Olivia, his fiancée, was also one of Chloe's friends. As for Daniel, he dragged me off to a corner. Leo, I'm so sorry. I forgot they'd be here too. I smiled and shook my head. After all those years at the MO house, our social circles overlapped a lot. It was normal they'd show up. It's fine. I stopped caring a long time ago, I reassured him. Besides, I'm married now. Daniel froze, his eyes going wide in disbelief. You're married? Since when? And how come I didn't know? 6 months ago. He stared at me for a while, then suddenly broke into a grin. That's my guy? I knew it. Someone like you. No way you'd give up an entire forest just for one rotten tree like Chloe. That's how it should be. Women like her, not worth it. He playfully punched me in the chest. I knew he was genuinely happy for me. Back when Marcus had first appeared, Daniel had kept warning me, but I couldn't let go. I was dead set on banging my head against that wall. Now I had finally let go. After a little laugh, he gave me a mock glare. Then why didn't you bring your wife here for me to meet? Don't tell me you don't think of me as a real brother. She's on a business trip, I said with an apologetic smile. She won't be back till tonight. I'll bring her next time. We'll treat you to dinner. Daniel nodded, satisfied. Suddenly, he grabbed my arm, dragged me to the center of the crowd, and picked up the microphone, capturing everyone's attention with a big, bright smile. Hey everyone, I have another great announcement to make today. He pulled me up beside him and introduced me formally. This is my good friend Leo. And guess what? He's married. Let's all give him a big round of applause. As his words fell, the room went silent. Most of the guests here were from our shared social circle, and many of them knew Chloe Mo's fiancé was named Leo. But no one had ever heard that Chloe got married. Daniel, ever the mischief maker, glanced around. And what? My brother gets married, and you're not even happy for him? People snapped out of their daze and quickly chimed in with laughter and applause. Of course we're happy. Overjoyed. Congratulations. Wishing you 100 years of happiness and a baby soon. Chapter 5. Amid the crowd's blessings, I simply nodded with a faint smile. That was when Marcus walked up to me. He held a glass of wine, looking at me with concern written all over his face. You've been living out in the countryside for the past 2 years. Now you're suddenly getting married? Are you sure you're not being scammed by some shady people out there? I know you're still upset that Chloe sent you away, but she did it for your own good. You're still young. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. Marriage is a big deal. You have to be cautious. Marcus, don't you think you're meddling a bit too much? Even if I were marrying a pig, it's none of your damn business. I couldn't help but cut him off. I really hated him. He clearly didn't like me, yet always acted like he cared. Back when we were living at the MO household, he was the same. And over time, I gradually became the black sheep of the family. No one liked me. Meanwhile, he became everyone's golden boy, the perfect gentleman, warm and considerate. I've seen through that act long ago. It's just boring now. Marcus didn't take being cut off well. His face darkened, and right on cue, Chloe walked over. She stared at me for a long while before finally speaking. Leo, that's enough. After the party, I was standing alone by the roadside, waiting for a ride. Chloe's car pulled up in front of me. Her expression was cold. Get in. I shook my head. No need. My wife's coming to pick me up. She sneered. Leo, how long are you planning to keep this act up? Fooling others is one thing, but everyone in City A knows you've been hopelessly in love with me for years. You'd die for me. Someone like you. Who the hell would ever want to marry you? Get in the car, and I'll forget you snuck back into the city. Her tone was harsh, and when I still didn't move, a look of disgust crossed her face. Don't tell me you really became someone's side piece. Who would have such awful taste? I smiled faintly at that. Missimo, have you ever been someone's side piece? Otherwise, what makes you so sure that's what this is? Only people with filthy minds assume everyone else is dirty, too. Chloe looked like she'd just swallowed a fly. She glared at me. Leo, what the hell happened to you? Looking at her so righteously indignant, someone might actually believe she was heartbroken. But the truth is, I haven't changed at all. I was a mischievous kid growing up. My mom scolded me for it constantly. Even after I moved into the MO household, my personality stayed the same. I remember the first time I clapped back at someone in that house. Chloe was right there laughing. She said, a real man should have backbone. That's what makes him attractive. But then Marcus showed up, and suddenly I was too immature, not steady enough. So I started hiding all my edges, toning myself down. But now I don't want to change for her anymore. Marcus had been sitting quietly in the front passenger seat the entire time, listening to our conversation. When he saw Chloe's face, a faint smile flashed in his eyes. Then he looked at me and gently said, Leo, how can you talk to Chloe like that? She's only thinking of you. Shut up. I rolled my eyes and stared at him in disbelief. Nobody said you had to talk. Just because you're quiet doesn't mean you're mute. This is between me and Chloe. What's it got to do with you? Marcus was at a loss for words, visibly embarrassed. Chapter 6. Just then, a pink sports car pulled up behind us. Without even glancing at the two of them, I strode over and got in. Over the roar of the engine, I could still hear Chloe shouting curses behind me. That night, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. When I answered, I found out it was Sophia, Chloe's bestie. Leo, what are you up to? I turned off the music. Putting the kid to bed. There was a brief pause on the other end, followed by a confused question. Putting a kid to bed? Like an actual human child? I nodded. What else would it be? Sophia, don't mess with me. Chloe was never pregnant. How could you possibly have a kid? I replied calmly. It's not like Chloe's the only woman in the world who can have a child with me. Sophia's voice shot up a notch. No way. So you really got married and you have a kid? I asked in return. Why? I'm not allowed to get married and have children. It's just, I thought you were engaged to Chloe all this time, and you've always been into her. How could you suddenly be married? You're faking it, right? I laughed. Why did everyone assume I was lying? Marriage isn't some joke. I'd never use it to pull a prank. It's real, I said. After a short pause, when the wedding happens, I'll make sure you get an invite. As soon as I said that, a burst of background noise erupted from her end. Then the call dropped. I didn't give it much thought. Chloe's so-called girlfriends, 9 out of 10 of them, always thought I wasn't good enough for her, even when things were great between us. Once Marcus came into the picture, their disdain only grew stronger. I've overheard them bad-mouthing me more times than I can count. A moment later, another call came in. Chloe. One glance at the caller ID, and I already knew. The second I picked up, before I could even speak, she started yelling. Leo, tell me that kid isn't yours. I couldn't help but chuckle. Are you serious right now? Chloe's voice got even louder. Leo, I'm telling you, say that child isn't yours. She was practically screaming. Even without speakerphone, I was sure half the room could hear her. I pulled the phone slightly away from my ear and said coldly, if that's all you called for, I'm hanging up. Did you not *****ing hear what I said? Where the hell are you right now? After knowing Chloe for so many years, I'd seen all her tantrums. Her yelling didn't faze me one bit. She kept going on the other end. Suddenly, someone pulled the phone from my hand from behind. Then I heard Isabel's soft voice. Leo's going to sleep with me now. If you've got something to say, save it for another time. Without waiting for a response, she hung up. I turned my head and met a pair of sparkling eyes full of mischief. She leapt into my arms, rubbing her face affectionately against my neck. Her body still carried the scent of her shower gel, a fresh, peachy fragrance. "You better work harder," she whispered, "or you won't have any kids to tuck in next time." I cupped her little bottom and laughed. I was just talking nonsense. Isabel kissed me lightly on the lips and murmured, "Not for long." Chapter 7. 3 days later, I returned to the MO household. Isabel and I went together to visit Grandpa MO. It was he who brought me into the MO family all those years ago, and he had always treated me like his own grandson. But his health had declined significantly in recent years. Most of the time he stayed abroad for treatment. This trip back home was to celebrate his 80th birthday. I heard he'd be heading overseas again right after the celebration. After we saw Grandpa MO, Isabel got a call and stepped out to the back garden. I waited for her quietly in a corner. "I thought you'd never come back." I turned at the voice. Chloe had somehow walked up behind me. Her pretty face was cold and frosty as she stared at me. Ignoring her expression, I smiled. Of course I'd come back. It's Grandpa's birthday, and I brought my wife to meet him, too. Chloe looked at me icily. "What now? Got some new tricks? Have you spent the past few years in the countryside plotting how to piss me off? Let me make something clear. Stop dreaming. I will never marry you. I'm going to tell Grandpa right now we're canceling the engagement." She glanced behind me and sneered. "What? Didn't bring the illegitimate child that old woman gave you? You honestly disgust me. Get out of the MO house right now." Just as her words fell, a soft, lazy voice drifted over. "Oh, the MO family's eldest daughter certainly thinks highly of herself. I had no idea the entire Missouri estate was under your command." Chloe's body froze. She turned stiffly toward the voice. Aunt Eleanor walked up to me, took my hand in hers, and looked straight at her niece. "I wouldn't dare call myself your aunt, especially since you just tried to throw your uncle out of the house." Chloe's face went pale, her eyes locked on our hands, and when she spoke again, her voice was almost stammering. You said, he's my Uncle Leo and you." Eleanor gave her a fleeting glance, her tone now sharper and colder. "He's your uncle, and that's how you speak to him? Calling him by name like that?" Chloe's face turned the color of ash, but she quickly recovered. In fact, throughout the rest of the family dinner, her expression was calm and composed, like nothing had happened earlier at all. The banquet concluded. Eleanor went to get the car, while I waited for her at the front gate. As I stood there, Chloe suddenly appeared and pulled me into a quiet corner. Her gaze was icy, her voice bitter with restrained fury. "Leo, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You and my aunt. You're putting on a show just to get at me, aren't you?" I looked at her. "You're overthinking it. If this were just for show, I wouldn't have brought her here. After all, back then, when Chloe's parents divorced, things between the two families got really ugly. If it weren't for me, Eleanor wouldn't have willingly come back here. Besides, Grandpa MO truly cared for me no matter what. I'd never lie to him." Chloe knew all this. She was just too angry to think straight right now. She let out a cold laugh. Chapter 8. "So this is revenge? You're getting back at me for choosing Marcus and dumping you in the countryside? Leo, I told you if you behaved, you would have become my husband one day. What the hell are you doing now?" Looking at the redness in her eyes, I suddenly thought of the day Marcus first arrived at the MO household. Chloe had made a promise to me. She said that not even 10,000 Marcuses could compare to me. She said I would always be the one she loved the most. But later, she kept defending Marcus and scolding me over and over again. In the end, she even hit me. To this day, I still remember the crisp shatter of the jade bracelet hitting the floor, just like my heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. I looked away, my gaze landing on the bright flowers blooming not far off. "Chloe, the moment you stood in front of Marcus to shield him, that was when you should have realized there was no future for us. I'm not the kind of person who can just forgive and forget. We're like that shattered jade bracelet. Once broken, we can never go back. Now I'm married to Isabel. You have Marcus by your side. Let's each move on with our own lives." A flicker of emotion passed across Chloe's face. She fell silent for a moment, then said, "Leo, are you really this heartless? I do have feelings for you. Really. I just felt sorry for Marcus. He lost both his parents." Her voice trembled, like she was barely holding back her emotions. At that, I let out a bitter laugh. "So Marcus is an object of pity because he lost his parents? What about me? I lost both my parents at 5, and at 10, the grandfather who raised me passed away, too. Wasn't I pitiful? How biased did she have to be to say something like that? If she truly cared about me, how could she have abandoned me in the countryside for 3 whole years, never visiting, never calling? I looked her in the eye and asked quietly, Chloe, do you remember why I came to the MO family in the first place? Her body stiffened and her face went pale. She opened her mouth trying to say something, but in the end, no words came out. I didn't look at her expression. I just rolled up my sleeve and showed her the scar on my arm. You probably don't know this, but when you sent me away to the countryside, I fell into depression. I attempted suicide several times. There were so many moments I thought I wouldn't survive. But luckily, I made it through, and I met someone who truly loves me. Just then, the headlights of a car flashed nearby. It was Isabel. She's here. I'll be going now. Chloe lowered her head, saying nothing. I pulled my arm free from her grip and walked away. It wasn't until the car had driven a long distance that I received a message from her. Leo, you once said you'd only ever marry me in this life. Yes, I did say that. Back when I loved Chloe more than anything. Back when I truly believed I'd marry her someday. Back when I believed she would only ever love me, too. So I made that vow with all my heart. But now, I've broken it because you turned away first, Chloe. Chapter 9. I didn't reply to the message. I just tossed my phone casually into the back seat. Isabel glanced at me from the corner of her eye and asked, Was that Chloe? I nodded lightly. Yeah, she's been ridiculous these past few years, always acting like everything in the world belongs to her. She'll come to her senses, eventually. I turned to her with a smile. What? You're not even jealous. This woman was never known for being generous. She once forced me to throw out every single thing I'd brought with me from the MO house to the countryside. Isabel didn't say anything at first, but then she quickly pulled over into a quiet, hidden spot. She bit down on my lip and growled in that sharp, sultry voice of hers. Who told me to fall in love with you? If I love you, I've got to accept all your baggage, too. Besides, I'm your wife now. I'm not letting you go anywhere. I smiled and kissed her back. Not only would she never lose me, I'd never lose her either. After that day, I didn't see Chloe again. Daniel invited me out to play basketball. While we were resting, he couldn't help but talk trash about Chloe. Chloe's nuts, man, something seriously off in her head. Olivia said that on the night of my engagement party, she went to some bar and trashed the whole place out of nowhere. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought she was secretly in love with me. He couldn't help laughing at his own words, then sighing slightly. We haven't seen her in a while, though. A few days ago, Marcus was even asking Olivia if she'd heard from Chloe. Where do you think she ran off to? I casually bounced the basketball. Who knows? That night, I was ambushed in front of my house. Chloe stood in my path, reeking of alcohol. Leo, I had a nightmare last night, she slurred. I dreamt you got married and you married my aunt. Tell me it's not true, please. You said you'd marry me. You said you'd only ever love me. There's no way you'd marry someone else. I stared at her silently and took out my phone to call Isabel. Before the call even connected, she suddenly snatched it from my hand and slammed it to the ground. Her eyes were red. Leo, say it. Say you only love me. Say you'll only ever marry me. Say it. Say you and Isabel are just lying to everyone. Say it's all fake. Okay. She slowly dropped to her knees in front of me, her voice trembling with desperation, as if begging. This version of Chloe I had never seen before, like she really loved me. If this were the past, I would have pulled her into my arms, kissed her cheeks, and whispered softly to comfort her. But now everything had changed. I looked down at her from above, my voice indifferent. Chloe, if you want to play the part of the heartbroken lover, go find Marcus. I don't need it. Her head hung low. I couldn't see her face. It was a long while before she spoke again, her voice quiet. Leo, I know I was wrong. I went to the countryside these past few days. I visited every place you lived in during those 3 years. I even met your old therapist. I know I hurt you, but if you can give me a chance, I want to make it right. I'll go anywhere with you. Somewhere no one knows us, just the two of us. I'll be the woman who loves you more than anyone in the world. Please, Brother Leo. Hearing her call me, Brother Leo, made my heart jolt for a moment. Ever since Marcus came along, she'd stopped calling me that. From then on, it had always been just Leo, cold and distant. Now she called me that again, but it didn't bring me any joy, not even a little. No, I said, what we had is over. Just like that jade bracelet of mine, it shattered long ago. With that, I stepped past her and prepared to leave. She grabbed my hand without saying a word, but I could feel her hand trembling slightly. I ignored her. Instead, my eyes landed on the person walking toward me, and a slow smile spread across my face. Isabel approached, expression cold. The first thing she did was pull Chloe's hand off my arm. Then she yanked her up from the ground and slapped her across the face. Chloe, I'm letting this slide for now because you're my niece, but don't let me see you again. And stop chasing after my husband. Next time I won't be so polite. She wiped her hand clean, came over and took my hand, leading me home. Behind us, Chloe collapsed on the ground like a discarded rag, not moving an inch. After that, she never came looking for me again. The next time I saw her was at a symposium. She looked much thinner with Marcus by her side. I gave them a polite nod, then went to find my seat without another word. As I left the venue later, I could feel her eyes following me the whole time. During the intermission, Marcus came to find me. Leo, since you've already married Chloe's aunt, can you please stay away from her? Stop finding excuses to get close, all right? Do you even know what she's been through these past few days? She nearly lost her life because of you. I looked up and met his eyes, still that same self-righteous, insufferable attitude. I replied coldly, Marcus, what she chooses to do has nothing to do with me. Besides, I was invited to this event by the organizers. I don't have the power to just show up uninvited. This symposium was hosted by a government department. Only people who had made real contributions in their fields were invited. Unless Marcus was a fool, he should have realized I wasn't here by coincidence. His expression froze, clearly connecting the dots. He hesitated, still wanting to say more, but I wasn't Chloe. I wouldn't humor him. I added sharply, and by the way, I'm Chloe's uncle-in-law. Since you're a friend, that technically makes me your elder. Did no one ever teach you how to speak to your elders? His face went stiff. He wasn't clueless, just used to looking down on me, so used to it that he spoke without restraint. He bit his lip and hesitated for a long time, but still couldn't bring himself to call me uncle-in-law. And when he saw me smiling, his expression turned venomous. Leo, what are you so proud of? You wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Isabel. You think that makes you something special? You married her just because her family's rich. Don't think I don't know that. I didn't answer him. Instead, I looked past his shoulder. Chloe, perfect timing. Come get your guy out of here. Marcus flinched and turned to find Chloe standing behind him, her face dark with fury. Flustered, he opened his mouth to explain, but before he could get a word out, Chloe grabbed him hard and dragged him toward the exit of the venue. As I watched him leave, I felt a twinge of regret that he wouldn't get to see me being invited on stage as a distinguished guest speaker, which meant he still didn't understand one thing. I never needed anyone to prop me up. I was my own support. In the second half of the symposium, the organizers invited me to deliver a speech. The moment I stood up, I felt a pair of eyes following me intently. The gaze stayed locked on me until I stepped up to the podium. I didn't look around to find it. I simply began, "Hello, everyone. My name is Leo." As I finished the final sentence, the room erupted into thunderous applause. I smiled lightly, looking over the audience, then by chance met Chloe's eyes. There was something new in her gaze, something I'd never seen from her before, awe and even admiration. I acted like I hadn't seen it and turned my head away. When the event ended, she made her way against the flow of people to stand in front of me. She looked at me for a long while before finally speaking. "Leo, I didn't expect you to become someone like this." I looked back at her. "I owe it to you, really. 3 years ago, I was sent to the countryside completely alone. In that first year, I fell into depression. I even attempted suicide. The last time I was hospitalized, I shared a room with someone who loved filming everything. She told me she wanted to record all the beauty in the world so that it wouldn't feel like her life had been wasted. In that moment, something in me shifted. I started filming, too, trying to capture everything beautiful around me. Through those videos, I began discovering the richness of traditional culture and forgotten craftsmanship. They, too, were fighting to not be forgotten, to stay alive in a world moving too fast, just like me, searching for a reason to keep moving forward. That's how I started incorporating intangible cultural heritage into my videos. At first, I just wanted to preserve them, because once something is forgotten, it truly disappears. But to my surprise, the video started getting attention. I became a modestly successful content creator. A year later, I met Isabel. She had fallen ill and returned to the countryside to recover. At the time, I was still living in the old Missouri estate, filming little snippets of daily life. One day during a heavy snowfall, she suddenly appeared in front of my lens. She saw the camera but didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled. She said, "You must be that video guy. I'm Isabel. I've wanted to meet you for a long time." Later, she traveled the country with me, exploring traditional arts and heritage together. During an episode about handcrafted phoenix coronets, I proposed to her. Thinking back, I smiled faintly. Chloe noticed my smile, and for a moment, her expression softened, nostalgic, yet tinged with sorrow. I had no idea what she was thinking, and frankly, I didn't want to. I adjusted the wind-blown hem of my coat and prepared to leave. As I stepped to the side to walk past her, she suddenly held out her hand. Instinctively, I took a small step back. Then I noticed what she was holding. It was a jade bracelet, one that looked almost exactly like the one my parents had left me. She said, "I searched everywhere for this jade bracelet. Doesn't it look a lot like yours?" There was a hint of hope in her voice, but my attention wasn't on the bracelet. It was on the scar on her wrist, a scar that looked a lot like mine. She noticed where I was looking and let out a bitter smile. "I guess there's at least one thing we still have in common." I looked up at her, then sighed. "Chloe, you know the truth. What we had ended 3 years ago. Everything you're doing now, it only feels like a burden to me, so please stop showing up in my life." With every word I spoke, the color drained further from her face. When I finished, I didn't look at her again. I simply walked past her without hesitation. Behind me came the sound of jade hitting the ground, and the muffled sound of someone trying not to cry. From that day on, I really never saw Chloe again. Even when I returned to the MO residence to visit Grandpa, I didn't run into her. Not even Marcus was around. Later, I found out Marcus had moved out of the MO house Chloe's decision. She also cut off all contact with him. Marcus had been trying to find her ever since, searching everywhere. He even came looking for me a few times, but each time, within minutes, someone would appear and forcibly take him away. I asked Isabel if it was her doing. She said no. I thought life would simply go on like this, but I didn't expect that one day I'd hear about Chloe in such a way. Her best friend called me, her voice filled with anger. She said that for the past half year, Chloe had been drinking heavily, rarely sober. But 2 nights ago, she woke up suddenly and started insisting she had to find me. That same night, she got into a car accident. She survived, but her leg was seriously injured. The doctor said she might never walk again. "We tried to stop her," Sophia said, her voice hoarse, "but we couldn't." She was crying, saying tomorrow was your birthday, and that she'd already missed the last 3. She said she couldn't miss this one, too. She cried so hard. It broke our hearts to see her like that. If we'd known, we never should have let her keep spiraling. She did all of this because of you. Isabel was curled up in my arms. When she heard the voice on the phone, she looked up at me. I gently pinched her cheek and without a word, ended the call. She tilted her head and kissed my chin, whispering softly, "This isn't your fault." I knew that, but still it felt absurd. When she was by my side, she didn't know how to cherish me. Now that she was gone, what was the point of pretending she ever did? Affection that arrives too late is worth less than dirt. I'd always understood that, so I never went to see her. Half a month later, in the middle of the night, I received a text from Chloe. "Leo, I'm sorry. I didn't reply because our story had already ended. From now on, I shall be untouched by spring and autumn and detached from romance and worldly beauty."